Hey everyone, this is Ultra Wonder. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a ranking for all of the Studio Series 86 releases by Hasbro. This is everything released so far. They are 49 Transformers they released in the line so far. This is as of the end of November, or I guess beginning of November. So we're going to just rank all those releases. And I do, as you guys know, I am 100% collectionist on the, or completionist as a collectionist, completionist on the Studio Series 86 line. So I do have all the repaints, so like the cups, I have both of those. I have both of the Perceptors. I have both of the Ironhides and Ratchets. Both of the bronze. And so we're going to take a look at all these guys and their releases. That Jazz is from the 5-pack, but the one in alt mode. But we're going to take a look at all the different ones that they've released so far. Take a look at them and see what we think, and just kind of give you my opinion on them as someone who has them all. Now, just as a heads up, I am going to rank Devastator as a whole versus a sum of his parts, simply because nobody's just going to pick up Scavenger or Hook or Bone Crusher by themselves. You're going to pick up the entire set, and whether you pick up two sets, you're going to have one in alt mode and one not. Really, you're picking it up because of Devastator. So I'm going to do Devastator separately. Or do Devastator as the Constructicons as a whole versus individually. So let's take a look. So we're going to start with the first release from the Studio Series 86 line. And what I mean by first release, as far as the first figure we're going to rank, and that is going to be Spike. Get that to focus there. So Spike comes in at number 44. He is not a Transformer and just really kind of like a posable figure, and they did a pretty good job with him. I mean, all things considered, as far as making him realistic, it'd be cool if he could actually transform into the car form and do all that cool stuff, drive around, wheels, the whole nine. But kind of understand when they were going with this. This is probably more cost effective, so that's where we go with that. Coming in at number 43, we're going to go to Eject. I know he's supposed to be better than the original, but these tapes don't even compare to Rumble and Frenzy. So they did your boy Blaster a little dirty in that regards. So posability is fine. He doesn't even have hands. Doesn't look great, as far as it just looks super, super, super cheap. So I'm glad these core classes are now included as opposed to what they were before. But yeah, that's coming in at number 43. We're going to move over here. Get this to focus. Too many faces. Next in line, coming in at number 42 is going to be Ratbat. Ratbat, I didn't have the original version of this. Again, I'm only really picking up the SS86 line, a few masterpieces, and a few of the other ones as well. But I think they did a good job with this guy. Can't wait till Soundwave comes so we can have him in play, but pretty basic Transformer. Outside of that, nothing super major. Yeah, it looks good. Fit and finish, paint's all pretty nice. And, not too bad at all for such a small character. All right, come in at number 41. We're going to move over here. And that is going to be Steeljaw. As you kind of see, there's a little bit of thing with these tapes here. Steeljaw is actually pretty neat. I mean, I think they did a good job with him as far as making him look like the line on the movie. Not super fan of how basic the tapes are. I wish they would have done a better job with that. I don't know why this is not focusing. But hopefully, they'll improve and maybe we'll get a 2.0 of these guys. But so far, not too bad. So from here, we're going to go to number 40. And that is Frenzy. And yes, Frenzy is red, Rumble is blue. And these guys, I was really impressed with him. He was actually pretty hard when you get, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, I ordered mine through BBTS, so I just had to wait forever to get him. But I know a lot of people had a struggle getting him. So, but I think they did a good job. Definitely way better than Blaster tapes. Fit finish, the whole nine. I mean, just this looks like they tried, and they look like they didn't try at all with Blaster tape. So I'm really hoping eject, and when we get rewind, they actually redo those guys. And of course, coming in at number 39, right above here is Rumble. And why? Because Rumble is just the man, from carrying Megatron's blaster cannon in the movie to the fact that he's really the trash talker of the two of those guys. And Rumble is blue, so definitely like that guy a lot. And then coming in at number 38 is Ramhorn. Now, I really like the way they did Ramhorn. Personally, I think this is really flawless execution. They did a great job of keeping him true to form as far as how he looked. I might get this in focus. The cannons, the whole nine. Just a great job with this guy. Like him a lot. So, nothing more to say about that. All right, coming in number 37, we have the original Perceptor. This one here, I think they did a good job with most of the SS86. I don't really have a complaint about. We'll get to the newer version, the more meets the eye version in a bit, but definitely a good job with this one. Good look. He looks just like he did on the movie. And, Perceptor is definitely one of my, one of my favorites from the show. And, they did a great job with him. So he's coming in at number 37. All right, coming in number 36, we have Ironhide. Ironhide, this is just a marvel of transforming compared to the ones we got in the, the War for Cybertron line. Just, they had that whole shield from his back. He was part forming. And this is definitely a better look for him. It's not as accurate as far as color to me as the dead one behind him, but we'll get in that later on. But yeah, that's it right there. So coming in at number 35, we got Ratchet, his mold mate. Ratchet, I like the white. I think it comes out better. It's so funny, I don't like the blue chest, the blue transparent plastic or translucent plastic on iHeart, but I really think it works on Ratchet for sure. Love the way it looks, the Autobot logos and the insignia there. Click couldn't do the Red Cross shield like they did on the original Transformer just because they didn't have the right to it, but definitely worked out pretty well. All right, going to number 34. We have the original Cup. And this guy here, definitely, let me see if I can zoom in a bit here. Maybe I'll better. This guy here, definitely really cool. Accurate across the board. Definitely like this look. Was kind of surprised when he did the Buzzy Bumblebee version, because I thought this guy was just perfectly fine, and he does what he needs to do. Just has to look gimmick where his arms and legs come off, so you can have Hot Rod fix him. But it is what it is. Okay. Coming in at number 33, we have Wheelie, and Wheelie looks really cool. I mean, I think they, if you got the Grimlock, you got Wheelie sitting here, which he just kind of is just like a power pose figure, not much range to him at all. So I'm glad, and we all kind of knew we were going to get a second release of that guy. So an official release of him definitely worked out a whole lot better. He looks really cool, and it just looks like he does in the show or does in the movie. So no complaints there. Posable, easy to kind of move around, and decent range of motion and articulation for such a little figure. Okay, number 32, we're going to move over to Cliff Jumper. Now, Cliff Jumper was a Buzzworthy Bumblebee exclusive. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I'm sure we're going to probably end up getting another one of him on the buck next to him. But this one was really neat. I think Cliff Jumper, they did a good job with him. I like the look. I love the cell shaded windows versus the clear transparent plastic there. I like their own Bumblebee, but they could do better on this mold, and I'm hoping we'll get a updated version of him soon. Okay, coming in at number 31, we have Bumblebee. And this was just such a great, faithful look to him. I know this is the Penny Racer version of him as far as his automobile mode, but the robot mode, I mean, it's just him spot on. I think they did a great job with him. It's a nice overhaul. And it's like to see them do something like this and instead of just being lazy and slightly remolding. This is, completely new. If you compare it to Ironhide, to Cliff Jumper, you can see it's definitely a new mold across the board. And can't wait to see Cliff Jumper get the update on this one here. And, of course, versions later on like Goldbug and stuff like that. So coming in at number 30, we have the Buzz with the Bumblebee version of Cup. Now, I like this one much better with the paint instead of the transparent plastic like you have here. Outside of that, the coloration is a little bit better, but it's not anything like super massive. It's not, if you just picked up the original Cup, which, you can get him on YouTube. You can get him on eBay for like $10, $12. I mean, it's pretty cheap. I do like the coloration of the second release, but if you only had to get one and you can only get the original Cup, that's definitely not an issue at all for sure. Coming in at number 29, we have Blur. Blur, pretty decent mold, pretty accurate. It's just one of those things where like, once you see the masterpiece version of Blur, you kind of go, man, they could really do much more than they did with this guy. And hopefully we'll get a better version of Blur at some point, I'm pretty sure. Because I doubt if Hasbro is going to do a one and done on a lot of these guys. They'll probably end up with some type of SS86, either 2.0 line or movie realistic version, or I like to do those Takara repaint. So you'll probably end up something like that at some point. So yeah. And coming in at number 28, we have everybody's favorite Coronation Starscream. So I know this mold gets a lot of hate just because it really leaves a lot to be desired. And this was just a really simple just transfer over from, I think it was the Earthrise version, which I don't have. I do have the Tetrajets, but I don't actually have the Siege version because, like I said, I had no intention of picking those guys up. But I do have them holding the Megatron gun that comes with SS86 Megatron, which I guess technically is just transformed as the movie Megatron, since in the movie he was not a tank, but that's neither here nor there. And my Megatron right next to him, of course, has never been transformed. I've already talked about that before, but I do like this Coronation Starscream. It does come with the chair, the throne. The cape actually worked out pretty well. I definitely would like to see a better version of this, kind of like what Masterpiece has done and the third parties, but definitely not an issue at all. I like this guy a lot, especially for such an old mold. And we go to 27. 27 is going to be the clean version of Brawn. And this was a big update for Brawn. I had Brawn as a kid, and the original Brawn looked nothing like, the toy looked nothing like the actual animated character. And I always wonder why it's so weird like that. But I do like what they did with this guy. They give him the ability to kind of flip him on and have the other look for him too. The cell shaded blue, of course, is super nice. So awesome to have this guy in SS86 line out, and they did a great job with him. Going in at number 26, we have the unalived version of Ironhide. I do like the fact that they did the blue cell shading. If you look at the faces, the face on the original is chrome, and this one's grayed out, so really more cartoon or movie accurate. And then he's even got, I'll see if I can pick him up and show you here. He's even got the cell shading on the side, which the other one had didn't have. And it does make a difference as far as how it looks. And I hope we get a new version of this guy here. This guy here with that paint scheme, and even the plastic was a little different too. So definitely a better version. Definitely, like I said, it would be a worthy upgrade for sure. And then coming in right behind him at number 25 is Unalive Ratchet. And again, of course, those guys are really paired together. And I do like to say the same thing here. The update. Let me zoom out a little bit here. The update for him. Same thing with the cell shading on the sides. Definitely looks much better than if you look at, sorry about that, the clear plastic here. And when they get transformed, the fact that you can see all that, the inner workings, I do prefer not to have that. So super glad that they did that with the unaligned version, and hopefully we'll get a new release without that issue. So, all right, coming in number 24, we have the sweeps. And as you guys see, I do have 3 of them on flight stands. Well, actually, 2 on flight stands, 1 up. These guys are awesome. The reason I have 3 is because, in the movie, when they all first fly into the ship after they're going from, Galvatron flies in last, it is Scourge with 3 sweeps. So I do have 3 sweeps simply because of that. And I like this mold. I like the fact that it is very, very faithful to the movie. I'm trying to get a top view of that. Very faithful to the movie look, and phenomenal job execution on that. And these guys, go pretty cheap, way cheaper than Scourge. So hopefully Scourge will get a re-release for a lot of you guys who haven't gotten them. But phenomenal, absolute phenomenal mold. Really like that guy, and I liked Scourge and the sweeps even in the cartoon. They were just a lot of fun because they were just goofballs. So. All right, coming in number 3 and 3 is Scourge, and then really, it's the exact same mold, just different coloration. More of that kind of purplish blue color, and he is actual Scourge. I was really lucky to be able to get one of these in the aftermarket for a decent price. It wasn't at retail, but a little bit over retail is not bad. I'm used to buying Hot Toys, which are way more if you have to buy those things secondary market. So paying $50 for them as opposed to $35 is really not bad at all, and definitely worth it. Just want to have them in the collection. If they redo him, that'd be great. If they don't, I think this mold is perfectly fine. No issues or concerns with it at all. All right, coming in at 22, 21, and 20 are the Junkions. So we're going to throw those guys all together. They're the exact same mold mate. Just slightly variations on them. Free and Scrap Heap, Junk Heap, and Rengar. And Rengar's cool, and I think everybody that's really the guy. I really want to pick up another one of those so I can throw a Junkion, one of these guys, on a motorcycle. It's the standard way to display the Junkions, but this is such a really cool mold because I think they went really above and beyond on making sure it was like there's no hollow points on this guy. On either of them, they're all very, very sturdy. They look great. Paint, the coloration is great. Accessories are pretty easy, and this is just a cheap mold that you could just do over and over and over again without an issue. So, but yeah, these guys are phenomenal. So, yeah, coming in at number 22, 21, and 20 are Scrappy, Junk Heap, and Rengar. And coming in at 19 is definitely one of my favorite figures. You guys can see I got 4 of them. Love the Sharkticons. No, it's super cool. I think they did a phenomenal job for us. And like the iridescent eyes, the functionality. They can be a little wonky here and there, but they definitely got good posability, and I like them a lot. Like I say, I'll probably end up with more once I decide how I'm gonna get my setup done and my final display options. But right now where I have them, 4 is good enough, and they're always on sale. I think I picked up the last one for like $9 or $14 from Target. So every time I find one on sale, I usually pick one up. So I'm always in the market for a gnaw, and for the Sharkticon. So if I find one just in the wild cheap, I'll grab one. So all All right, coming in number 18, we have RC, everybody's favorite Kibblebot. Now, this is funny because, you know, you can take the backpack off and really she'll be a completely separate car. And I was going to do that for it, but, you know, that's not the toy. And I may get a second one, or if they decide to redo her. The problem is even the Masterpiece versions, for a lot of the different KOs and officials, they just have the big kibble bag. You know, it's just what it is with RC. But, you know, I know it's hard to put a slender bot like that and then put all that stuff in there, but I'd be interested to see, you know, if somebody can actually make a truly really slim RC like she is on the movie. So, all right, coming in at number 17, we have the Unalive Prowl, or if you're an SS86 collector, the only version of Prowl currently available. Such a great mold. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Dyson Bros. You know, I call them, you know, as a lot of people call them, the Autobot Seekers. You know, I have, you know, Smokescreen, you know, Silver Streak, Blue Streak, even have one of the, you know, the zombie bots or whatever. Big fan of that mold. Really love the Dyson Bros, you know, and I can't wait to get a clean version of him. But this is, I mean, we could just get this guy without the unalive parts, dude, we'd be doing really well because it's such a great piece, you know. And like I said, I do have, well, I've already shown it, but I have all the unalive guys. So, you know, that gotta stick with the 100% collection if I'm going to do it, right? All right, coming in number 16 is Blaster. Now, I know this is just basically a repaint of the existing mold, but, you know, if you're going to repaint, and I mean, I guess just seeing it side by side, you know, watching some of the other YouTuber reviews, this is definitely a great repaint, and I'm happy with him. And mine has been in boombox mode since I got him, and he probably will stay in boombox mode until either decide to get a second one or I change the display up. But yeah, this is such a good. I mean, I really love the cartoon accurate paint, and he looks really cool. You know, they definitely did a great job with, you know, reuse, and this is definitely reuse done well. So, all right, coming in number 16. Speaking of reuse done well, is SS86 Galvatron. And Galvatron, one of my favorite villains of all time. Definitely just because, you know, in the cartoon he got like he became a head case, so it's actually pretty hilarious. But this repaint, it just destroys the other purple version, you know, that Hasbro's release, and you know the color in the barrel, you know, the paint, the fit and finish. I mean, side by side they look like completely different toys. Like you wouldn't even guess that one was. They're both with the exact same mold, just repaint by the same company. So, again, this is reuse done right, and that's why Galvatron comes in at number 15. All right, coming in at number 14 is another one of those kind of reuses done right, with some slight mods. That's Springer. Springer definitely all the, you know, them cleaning him up and taking all that battle damage off of the. I guess it was a Siege version, the War for Cybertron version, whatever. Super happy with how this guy turned out. And Springer was like one of the first triple changes I think I owned. And so he's always had a special place in my heart. And I'll eventually probably end up getting 2 more of him just so I can have him in multiple modes for display. But big Springer fan, and I've got him over here with these guys. And I know once we get done, I'll kind of try to show you how I've got it all laid out. But I've got it laid out from the movie Unicorn in the middle, and then everybody else kind of painted out toward the beginning of the movie. So, coming in number 13 is Jazz. Jazz was the first Transformer I owned. You know, not this one, of course, but the original Jazz, and that was the first Transformer I bought. I hadn't seen the movie yet. He was, of course, still around because back then, you know, they just re-released toys all the time. It wasn't called re-release; it was just called restocking. And he introduced me to Transformers and was a big fan. And you know, again, like I said, I've got, you know, a couple versions of him here. This is not the SS86. This is the Legacy 5-pack. I sold off the other ones because I didn't care about any of the other ones because I'm sure we'll get them in SS86 at some point. But I really wanted that Jazz, even though they've dropped Jazz like 25 times. But yeah, good figure. Across the board, definitely, ranks up there with build quality and accuracy. And just the way it looks, color paint, the whole nine. Yeah, such a great one there. So for sure. And then coming in at number 12 is Snarl. Now, the Dinobots, you guys know, I've said this multiple times on my channel, the Dinobots are my favorite team of all time. Of any media period, my number one team is the Dinobots. My number two team is actually the Bad Batch. So, and I guess I am old enough to have seen, Empire Strikes Back in the movie theater and Star Wars first re-release in the theater as well. So, not old enough to have seen it. Well, I guess I could have seen it, but I would have been too young to actually know what I was seeing there. But love the Dinobots. And the only issue with the Dinobots, first of all, I'm happy they got them all out because that's such an amazing team. And they just killed it like mini masterpieces. And I hadn't said that yet, but this is kind of where we're getting to that range where they've done a phenomenal job. This right here, they could have just made this gold. And if they do hope they do a re-release or even just do like, I don't know, a metallic version, they want to call it toy version. I don't know what they want to call it, but if they could do this and do this in the gold color, like on the spikes on the head and the feet, I would definitely buy another one of those for sure. But mine are always in Dino mode. There's no reason to have a Dinobot outside of Dino mode for me, for my collection. And so that is number 12. And then coming in at number 11 is actually Unalived Brawn. I got him in a running pose, basically running toward, his death. I actually like this version better than the original, which is side by side. Paint-wise, paint's the same for the most part. The coloration of the face I do like better, like the gray, the matte gray versus shiny gray. And I just like the unalived look of those guys. I mean, like you guys have seen. I just think there's a better touch slightly to it, and it's not like massively different, but there's a different difference in the color because this one here is the green's a little paler than the green here. Maybe that's because he's dead, but I do like the unalive versions of those figures, so those characters specifically. So, all right, then coming in number 10, I'm going to go back to the Dinobots. That is Sludge, who is my least favorite Dinobot of the team. They kind of goofed on him, in the movie when he had to fight Devastator. The only issue with Sludge I don't really like is the fact that his back always has that gap. And no matter how tight you transform it, it just likes to split. Maybe there'll be an update later on for it or, just have to leave it like it is. But again, it looks good. I do like, the gold metallic paint all over. And that's just why Snarl fails in that comparison because he doesn't have that same look. So hopefully we'll get an update for that at some point. All right, coming in at number 9 is the leader of the Dinobots, and that is Mr. Grimlock. This figure here, I think they did a great job with him. Could have done a little bit better, but across the board, really no complaints. The fit and finish, the gold paint, him coming with Wheelie, which is a really nice little kind of callback to the movie. When I'm fighting the Sharkticons, and I'm sure at some point I'll probably have really shooting at one of those guys at some point, just because I'll have a Sharkticon over here probably at some point. But great figure, flawless execution. Like I say, these Dinobots are just like mini masterpieces, and they just really knocked it out of the park. No complaints at all about how they did that. Coming in at number 8 is Slag. I know that he's actually Slag if you try to buy him. Who comes with Daniel. This is definitely my second favorite Dinobot. Love the look of him. Again, great execution, just like the other Dinobots. Mini masterpiece. They did not spare any expense to make these guys just like they looked on the movie. And weapon storage on them is also a big plus too. And I do really appreciate the fact that they did that because I try to keep all my accessories with my Transformers just to make it easier. That way I'm going to have to put them in a bag or anything like that. And I do like the fact that they have built-in storage. So, all right, coming in number 7, believe it or not, is the More Than Meets the Eye Perceptor. I love this update. And everything about it is taking a character we already had, a figure we already had, and redoing just a little bit of them to make him filled in. I mean, the fact that the back's filled in, you don't have that big ugly gap. But I love this cel shaded paint. Or I guess this paint. It looks so cartoon accurate. And I'll watch Transformers movie probably once a week, maybe. Just because I usually have it playing in the background while I'm working. I work from home. And every time I look at this Perceptor, I'm just going to go, man, I love that figure. Just such a great, great job with them. Yeah, he doesn't have the clear barrel like the other one had, or you can see through it. This one here has the transparent clear barrel. But I don't really care about that. I just really cared about, getting the most accurate version, and, not having that big hole in his back when he transformed was a huge plus. So, yeah, so that is Perceptor at number 7. And then coming in at number 6 is my favorite Dinobot, and not just because he has blue on him, but it's probably a big part of it, is Swoop. This Swoop, if you just kind of zoomed out and didn't know this was a Hasbro, you would think this was a masterpiece level figure. I mean, he was the last one, and they definitely saved the best for last. Absolutely flawless execution, so amazing, just great. And I really, really enjoyed getting this guy transformed and getting him on his fight stand, just so he's flying above his fellow Dinobots, just like he should be. But this is how you do a set, and I'm glad they gave us that entire team, relatively close by. I know Grimlock came out 2 years before, but the fact that they finished it, and now because of this, they're finishing team much quicker. So that's such a great thing. All right, coming to number 5 is Hot Rod. And, this was the first time, I think, as a collector of Transformers in the new age, that I was just blown away by a Transformer. Like the technology and the development and the tooling and how they make things, and just phenomenal. And this Hot Rod is definitely, again, you start getting into that mini masterpiece range where you're talking about how good it is and how great a job he does. They did with this particular figure. The look, the accessories that come with them, just phenomenal, So, and I know we're probably going to end up getting another version of him, and I can't wait to see what they do with Rodimus. I hope Rodimus is not just a simple retool. I'd love to get a brand new, from the ground up Rodimus. But if they do that, and like they did this Hot Rod, we're going to be eating good for sure. All right, coming to number 4 is the leader of the Autobots prior to his unaliveness, is SS86 Optimus Prime. Got him here with the trailer. Again, great execution. The blast off effects. Making this guy basically a version of the masterpiece is just such a great job, and that just shows you that they care about this stuff. And we know, talking to watching them on YouTube, watching them talk about Transformers, and a lot of the interviews we're talking to a lot of the YouTubers, they do really care about this line. And when I'm assuming when they are not giving any pushback, you get stuff like this, and this Prime is phenomenal. And could they have sculpted it a little bit better? Yes, but outside of that, zero complaints with this Optimus Prime. I'm not a big Optimus fan. He is not my guy. But you got to have Optimus, and he is the man before anybody else is a man. So gotta love him. Coming in number 3 is we're gonna call him Transformers the movie Megatron, since he's really not true to the SS86 mantra. But if you just look at him as a Transform robot, no complaints. Everybody talking about the legs are a little too thick, but the fact that they compressed all of that tank into that body and still gave you such a great silhouette overall. I mean, the back of this guy, that is movie accurate, cartoon accurate. I mean, the little chunky legs, I mean, let's just be real, bro. That is zero concern for most of us. it'd be great if he can turn into a gun, but, you know, I'm not going to be one of those people who are like beating him up about that. You know, you make a business decision, make a business decision. I'll just have to go third party and get my own. But outside of that, you know, so I can have representation. But outside of that, this guy is great. He looks insanely good. And I like the fact that this was a brand new mold and they just went super, super ham. But I think they had to do that because since he wasn't going to be a gun, nobody would have wanted this if he was just super, super basic, you know, or a retool. So, but yeah. And then coming in number 2 is the big green guy right behind him. That is Devastator. This is how you build a combiner. I do have the aerial bots, but of course they're not part of SS86, so I'm not going to go over those guys, but I'll show them in a second. Well, I guess I'll do that right now. There's aerial bots there in the corner. Okay. But this to me is how you do a combiner. I do like the fact that they went out of their way to ensure that this guy was stable, that he was able to be transformed and look good. I think all the robots look good, and separately, the Constructicons look great. Yeah, some of them are better than others, but that's always going to be the case. But outside of that, this was my first combiner. I had Devastator as a kid. And, you know, the one thing I liked about this one here versus the original was this guy's not a brick. You know, the other one, you just had to stand up and you couldn't move and pose. I've got him in this kind of like, I'm about to come at you, bro, look. And you could never do that with the original. And I'm super happy that we have a great Devastator. And I'm super happy that we got him in such a short period of time. I mean, 1 year for a Devastator is, less than 1 year is just phenomenal. I got all my, I typically get all my stuff from BBTS. Not that I'm sponsored by them, but just because it's easier. I just like having to jump in the pile of loot and not have to worry about it. I might get it lower or later than everybody else, but at least you get it. So, but yeah, he's phenomenal. So great job with Hasbro and Devastator. You know, just absolutely just amazing. So, and last but not least, not this guy because he's on SS86. That is the Studio Cell or 01 Studio Cell Unicron. And I'm just saying, this guy's amazing. Period and story. But coming in number 1 is the mini masterpiece SS86 Ultra Magnus. Now, Ultra Magnus is my guy. You guys have seen my office. My collection tour in my office. I have 2 masterpiece versions of this guy. I have the original Ultra Magnus and I have the Delta Magnus. I do have the fantastic model, which is the Fan Toys Marge, which is Ultra Magnus. I do have a Let Customs Marge on order, where he's doing a cel-shaded painting for those guys. For him, I've got, you know, Pops, the whole 9. Love Ultra Magnus. Just, you know, he was my first commander. I didn't have an Optimus as a kid. I had an Ultra Magnus because I actually saw the movie and then I got Ultra Magnus for Christmas. So this was my introduction to like big Transformers, and I hated the white Prime. You know, the white painted Optimus Prime to me was kind of janky because if you had the original toy, the legs really didn't like to fold up or stay folded up, and so you had to hold them from behind, like here, to keep the legs down. So jumping into this mini masterpiece version where the white trailer is just part of the transformation, I love it, you know. And I do have the Fan Toys where you could take the white painted Optimus Prime out, but to me, that's not Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus is this guy here for us here in the States, and the work they did on this guy, taking the masterpiece version, because like I say, it's pretty much Transformers, almost the same to him. There's no complaints I have with this. Just a phenomenal way of doing it. So, but yeah, he comes in at number 1. Maybe a little bit of bias, but I would definitely say most of this is due to engineering and truly taking a masterpiece mold and making a masterpiece mold reasonable for people who aren't willing to spend, you know, $200+ on a masterpiece. But yeah, so I'll just kind of show you guys, like I said before, Unicron's in the center, and my Decepticons pan out from the most recent ones in the movie all the way to the beginning of the movie for what we have so far. And then for the Autobots, it's the most recent ones in the movie all the way till you get to the beginning of the movie where you have most of the true G1 guys there. So, and of course, all the guys who got on live. So, hope you guys enjoyed this stack ranking of all SS86 Transformers by Hasbro so far. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Appreciate it. Later.